Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Good morning in some cases, depending on where you are. I'm Charlotte Floyd with Gamma Iota Sigma. We're pleased to welcome you for today's webinar, Delivering a Successful Virtual Internship Experience. The webinar will be recorded, and we will avail the replay link both on Gamma's website and social channels, as well as in the upcoming newsletters, so that you can continue to reference everything discussed today as a resource for you. All attendees are on mute. However, we do encourage interaction. To the right side of your screen, you should see a questions section where you can, throughout the presentation, submit your questions that you may have, but we'll address Q&A at the end. Thank you to GIS standing partner Assurance Global for availing the technology for today's webinar. And I'm pleased to turn it over to our presenters.
Thank you, Charla. Hi, everyone. This is Noelle Cotta-Spadier, CEO of Gamma Iota Sigma. And I want to thank everyone today for joining us for this webinar. We hope that each of you are adjusting to our new normal and staying safe and healthy in these unprecedented times. Since Gamma's inception in 1965, we have pursued a mission to promote and sustain interest in our great industry among college-level students, advocating that those who choose a career in our industry will find an industry that is resilient and adaptive and will find themselves with rewarding opportunities. Even now, we believe that this has never been truer as we continue to promote careers in insurance to our students. With our universities moving to virtual learning and companies finding themselves in a completely remote workplace, our goal at GIS is to continue to provide resources to everyone that best allows continued engagement both now and over the next few months while we are adjusting. With that in mind, today's webinar focuses on delivering upcoming internships in a virtual setting, creating and facilitating the virtual internship program to allow you to deliver an effective and valuable virtual experience for your interns and continue to invest in the future of talent for your organization and maintain the commitment that you have made to so many of our students and students throughout the country. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Education and Programming, Alyssa Bouchard. Alyssa?
Thanks so much, Noelle, and thanks to everyone on the call for joining us today. We recognize there are concerns about the workforce and the future of the workforce in today's rapidly evolving environment. We have certainly received questions from our employer partners, from our association partners, about cancellations or changes in summer internships. And we know that these are difficult times. We certainly recognize that, but the talent gap and our industry's need for talent still exists, even today, even in light of the situation. So it's critical that we as an industry continue to invest in the future of talent. We are asking employers, encouraging employers to honor the internship offers that you've made to Gamma Iota Sigma students and rework and rethink internship programs in a spirit of resilience. So Gamma Iota Sigma is here to help you do that successfully. We are pleased to provide you with these resources to help you structure an internship experience that leads to success both for your organization and your interns. So here's what our program will look like today. We'll cover the benefits of virtual internships, how to prepare for a virtual internship, and keys to success in that virtual format. And of course, we'll open it up at the end for Q&A. Now, we definitely want to specify and preface that a virtual internship, it can't replace or match the value of face-to-face engagement. Our annual recruiting survey tells us that face-to-face engagement is absolutely imperative in engaging the next generation, but there certainly are benefits employers can recognize by transitioning your in-person internship to a virtual format in the unique circumstance that we're in. So as an industry, as Noelle mentioned, we must continue to engage the next generation of talent, and virtual internships will allow us to do that as an industry and will allow you to do that for your firm specifically. By shifting the format of your internship program It will make it possible for organizations to honor their commitments to hosting interns despite the current events. We know that internships are incredibly valuable. They're such a key piece of a student's career path, and they can help your future hires develop skills and experience that will reduce training and onboarding time down the road. So if these students are hired in a full-time capacity, those students, they've interned with your firm, they'll already be familiar with your systems, your culture, and it really can help ease the transition to full-time employment, both for students and for employers. Virtual internships also will allow you to leverage an expanded talent pool and hire candidates that best fit the current needs of your organization without geographic restrictions in the candidate selection process. Flexibility is another important benefit. Flexibility in virtual internships, it will allow for flexibility in scheduling. So whether it's a full-time internship program, part-time, during the summer, during the school year, we are actually working right now with a group of students to put together a student version of the virtual internship guide. And several of those students started with an organization as summer interns, and then they continued their work virtually during the school year. So as a result, they are recognizing continued engagement with their employers year-round, and that's a tremendous benefit. Virtual internships can also allow you to take advantage of additional support for busy seasons, for ad hoc projects that may arise throughout the year. And your organization can certainly recognize cost savings as a result of this new virtual internship format. It will reduce space and equipment expenses, eliminate intern housing and relocation expenses as well. And we certainly recognize and we promote to our employers the importance of continued engagement year-round on-campus brand building. And even though you can't be physically on campus right now, given the circumstances, virtual internships can help you build your employer on-campus brand even during this time. And perhaps most importantly, virtual internships allow you to continue to invest in the future of talent and in your future workforce during this time. So first today, we'll talk about what goes into preparing for a virtual internship. As an industry, we are flexible, we are adaptable. And so whether you selected your interns months ago, or maybe you're still recruiting for your summer interns, there certainly is time to pivot and prepare for summer internships in this new virtual format. A virtual communication tool first is imperative to the success of your virtual internship program. A lot of organizations already have an existing platform that they use that allows virtual meeting capabilities. It's certainly the world that we're living in right now. But if your organization does not have this capability, Forbes has released a list of remote working tools and technologies in light of the evolving situation with COVID-19 and, of course, increased demand for virtual work tools. So Zoom, Facebook, Cisco, you can see if you listed here are just a few of the providers that are on that list provided by Forbes. We certainly aren't endorsing one platform over the other, but we do want to provide you with those available tools. So we've included a link to that Forbes article in the virtual internship guide that you can see some examples of tools that are available to you if you need a place to get started. A strong support system is a key resource for any intern to have a successful experience, but certainly even more so for a virtual intern. With many of us working from home or remotely right now, maybe you can relate. It can at times feel a bit isolating, and that's something that if it's not addressed in advance, or it can lead to reduced job satisfaction. So it's important in terms of a virtual internship program to designate the appropriate point person for each intern to try to get ahead of those risks and mitigate them and create a great experience for everyone involved. A few of the most important roles in an internship experience are, as you can see listed here, internship supervisor, coordinator, and mentor. An internship supervisor, of course, is responsible for managing day-to-day tasks and performance of the intern. An internship coordinator is typically responsible for oversight of internship logistics. You'll typically see this role perhaps in a human resources function in larger organizations. They're responsible for connecting interns across departments and guiding interns throughout the overall internship process. And a lot of firms do already have a designated employee or team within HR, as I mentioned, to oversee the internship program. But this certainly, you'll see today throughout our program, it is scalable. Whether you have 1 intern or 100 interns, you can certainly learn from insights throughout this webinar presentation. If your organization does not have an existing role already for an internship coordinator, consider this a development opportunity. Someone who's a rising star within your organization. You know, identify someone who's slated to move into a management role soon, perhaps, or maybe a current employee who actually started with your company as an intern originally. And then finally, an intern mentor who's responsible, of course, for providing general career guidance, motivation, for being a role model for the intern. Gamma Iota Sigma conducts an annual recruiting survey every year, and recent insights from our 2019 survey showed that 71% of the students and recent graduates who responded feel mentorship is an important internship influencer. So this is a really key role for a virtual internship program. And I do want to point out there may be some overlap with these roles. The mentor may double as the intern supervisor. They may also be the coordinator. We have seen internships work really well at organizations that provide at least 2, if not all 3 of these touch points for their interns, just an additional resource for them in the virtual work environment. But ultimately, the functions of all 3 roles work very closely together to ensure a positive virtual experience for the intern. I mentioned earlier flexibility as a great benefit of virtual internships, but I do want to caution that too much flexibility can actually have a negative effect. So structure is very, very important in a virtual internship. And today's college students, they are used to having a syllabus, right, in their college classes. And this is actually something employers can learn from. We recommend creating a syllabus for your virtual internship to provide that structure and help to set expectations. We have created a sample internship syllabus as an additional resource for you. You can see here on the screen, this is a snapshot, and we do have the full version available to you as a link in the virtual internship guide, which of course you can find at gammaiotasigma.org now. We'll also provide in a follow-up email after this webinar. The syllabus should cover internship learning objectives. It should include an outline of focus areas, projects, and activities the intern can expect in their internship. And you can see here we've also recommended a schedule. And I want to point out that we recognize if you're preparing to host an intern this summer, for example, you won't know right now every single task that you'll need them to complete during the course of the internship. So just want to clarify that's certainly not the purpose of the syllabus. It's not intended to be all-inclusive. The syllabus should be specific enough to provide structure, give the intern an overview of what to expect, but it certainly should be general enough to leave room for adjustment and additions down the road. It's also important to prioritize training before the internship begins and just think about what will this intern need or need to know in order to be successful on their particular team and in their specific role. Think in advance about who's going to train the intern and what that will look like. And it can be hugely beneficial to mitigate any ambiguity by creating a checklist with some clear steps and guidance for the training process. In a virtual internship format, there is no such thing as too much information or over communication. Those things are absolutely essential, especially in a virtual format, but it can be overwhelming in a virtual format, especially if it's coming from multiple sources across a period of time. So compiling and organizing essential information in a single place, like what to know before you go or what to know before you begin guide, can help lessen those first day jitters that an intern might have and help mitigate the overwhelming feeling for them and ultimately help prepare them for greater success in the internship. Some recommendations of things that you can include in that guide are contact information for the intern supervisor, the coordinator, the mentor, those roles that we mentioned that are so key earlier in this conversation, and then other individuals they may interact with during the course of the internship. So human resources, IT, other critical contacts for them. And also include instructions for the intern's first day. You know, I think the first day really, it sets the stage, and it's so important in setting the tone for the rest of the internship. So how are they going to log into the company's systems? What is the first day schedule? It's helpful to provide some clear instructions and facilitate a successful first day and start the internship on a really positive note. And it certainly is more of a challenge to convey organizational values and culture through a virtual format, but it is absolutely so important. So we also encourage including some links to corporate documents, resources like your employee handbook, org chart, corporate video, the 10K. Those are things that can help give the intern an understanding of your organization, your culture, the policies, even though they're not physically in your company's work environment. Those are some things that can really help them to gain that understanding. So consider including those as well. We are going to touch in more detail later on later in the webinar about the importance of conveying that culture and other ways that you can do that. Before the internship, also make sure the intern has the technology support and access they need to work and to be successful. Our students come from a variety of socioeconomic backgrounds and opportunities, and they may not have the technological tools needed for a virtual internship. So please try to be proactive about that and willing to provide the necessary equipment. So a loaner laptop, internet card, webcam, if those things are needed. And also make sure the intern is granted access to all necessary systems prior to their start date. You know, nothing slows down a first day or first week on the job like waiting on system access. And that difficulty is compounded in a virtual work environment. We have had interns experience that before. You know, they come in with so much enthusiasm and excitement. They're ready to get to work. And then if they have to sit around and wait on access, it can be a frustrating experience for them. And it's certainly not good for the employer as well. So try to take care of that well in advance. Once the intern has started their internship, what are some of the things employers can do to transition some of the networking and learning opportunities interns might get in a live environment to a virtual format? We are really pleased to share some best practices and ideas that will help you and the intern have a successful virtual experience. As I mentioned, day one really sets the tone. It really sets the tone for the rest of the internship. So it is your intern's first real immersion into your organization, and it's important to facilitate a robust virtual onboarding and orientation for them. Set a first day schedule for the intern. Try to provide that in advance if you can, and really prioritize giving them a warm welcome. The intern should have some onboarding time scheduled with their internship coordinator or HR, ideally the first day, and beyond standard onboarding processes. So above and beyond that, consider other ways to welcome the intern. And this is just particularly important in that virtual internship format. So we have some ideas for you listed here. You can see a virtual team lunch. So consider, inviting team members to join a video conference to meet the intern over lunch. And, if all employees are on the team are still working remotely at that time, BYOL, bring your own lunch, and use it as an opportunity for the team to get to know the intern and to welcome them. And then an intern meet and greet. If your organization has more than one intern, try to facilitate virtual introductions and icebreakers with other interns. Do that early, preferably day one, to give the interns that connection early on. And then you can ask also your senior executives to provide a welcome, record a personalized video for interns, and have them welcome the interns to the organization, maybe share a few words, and offer some advice for them as they embark upon their internships and their entire careers. We mentioned earlier, there certainly is a risk of isolation that can come with remote work. So it is important to engage your intern, showcase your culture, and build their commitment to your organization in order to prevent that risk of isolation. Our annual recruiting survey tells us that corporate culture is a top 3 consideration and a key differentiator for students when it comes to the recruiting process and their employment decisions. Gamma students really are viewing their internships as a 2-way test drive or an extended interview for a potential full-time opportunity. So showcasing your organization's culture and building their commitment as interns can help increase your chances of retaining the intern and bringing them back as a full-time employee after graduation. We've provided some recommendations here to help you build that organizational commitment within your interns in a virtual setting. Send a welcome packet. Most of us appreciate some swag. Items like a company branded t-shirt, notebook, career fair giveaways, they can be relatively inexpensive and a great way to make the intern feel like a part of the team and really enhance that feeling of organizational commitment. We recommend mailing the welcome packet to arrive ideally just before the start of the internship. Some organizations certainly will do this a few weeks in advance or in between offers to try to continue to engage their intern. That's absolutely still a great idea. A really nice touch is including a handwritten welcome note from the intern's supervisor, their coordinator, maybe their mentor. It doesn't have to be long, a few sentences. It's a small, easy thing to do, but it can certainly have a big impact. And then finally, consider an office, organizational commitment. So help the intern get involved in the organization. And one way that you can do this is to provide them with a list of opportunities. So think of your employee resource groups. Oftentimes they have virtual opportunities, especially if you're at an organization where you're providing learning and involvement opportunities across multiple offices. virtual community service initiatives, other activities, and encourage them to encourage the interns to check out the ones that align with their interests. That's a great way to build organizational commitment. Also, make sure the intern is included on company and departmental distribution lists, so they're aware of important news and events happening within the company. It can certainly be a bit disconnecting for interns if they're inadvertently left off an email with important information, and it seems like everyone's in the know but them, so make sure they're on that list. And finally, if circumstances allow you to do so, consider bringing the virtual intern into the office for an in-person visit before or to the beginning of their internship. This might be an option for you once. You could consider doing it 2 or 3 times if circumstances allow, and an office visit can certainly go a long way in building organizational commitment. Communication is also so key in the success of a virtual internship programming. So ongoing proactive communication between the intern and the other point persons, the manager, the coordinator, the mentor, can help determine the success of that internship. Some ways that you can facilitate that communication are to plan regular check-ins. And that check-in, it can be a 15-minute catch-up meeting every morning over coffee, something informal, just checking in. It could also be a more formal, recurring meeting. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 45 minutes. Maybe you have an agenda with that. Different formats work for different organizations. So select a format that works best for yours and try to stick to it the best that you can. Unfortunately, virtual interns don't have the benefit of popping into an office to ask a quick question. So it's important to specify the best way for the intern to contact their supervisor, their coordinator, mentor for matters or questions that arise during their internship, whether that's a phone call, a video call, an in-office chat, or another way to communicate. And try to stress, point persons really should make every effort to make themselves accessible for things that inevitably come up. That will certainly be very important in facilitating that ongoing communication. And also monitor workload and progress, which we recognize it can certainly be more difficult for a supervisor to monitor workload and progress in a situation where they're managing a remote employee. So it's helpful to establish guidelines for doing that. Make sure the intern knows when and how to communicate if they have too much work, if they have not enough work. And one thing I'll add here as well is celebrate their successes. It's really important for a virtual internship to see the impact they're making on the team, to feel like they're part of that team. So in a virtual work environment, try to be more intentional with team shout outs or even with just simple thank you emails as they complete work throughout their internship. We all know that insurance is certainly a relationship business, so developing a network is a huge benefit of any internship, and virtual interns should still have the opportunity to build professional relationships. Our annual recruiting survey that I mentioned earlier tells us exposure is critical in helping students determine what career path or function of our business they ultimately want to pursue. So exposing interns to different areas of the business, to different employees within your business, can help paint a picture for them of where they may best fit in your organization after graduation, especially if their team or work during their internship is not exactly the right fit. To give them that additional exposure to other areas in your business, you can still try to retain them and bring them back as a full-time employee. Exposure is going to help them find the right fit within your organization. Identify other departments who might recognize mutual benefit from meeting or working with the intern. You could also consider rotational opportunities where an intern might divide their summer between 2 or more teams or departments. Students are finding these rotational formats very appealing in an internship opportunity. Of course, you could also consider virtual job shadowing opportunities. We've recently heard of a couple of companies that are doing that, and really, it's really making a great impact. And another option is an intern swap. So if you have 2 teams, they each have an intern, and they could trade interns for a short period of time. So that could be a day, could be a week, and it gives each intern exposure to a new and complementary area of the business. So something else, another idea to keep in mind. And you could also identify alumni from the intern's alma mater or Gamma Iota Sigma alumni who are currently working at your company that may be able to provide additional mentorship or guidance for them. It's also really important for interns to invest in relationships with their peers. We see our Gamma students make connections with fellow interns, with Gamma members from other schools, and then they go on to work together as clients or colleagues after they graduate. So it is great to help the intern connect with other interns. I know we mentioned the intern meet and greet idea earlier. If you plan to have more than one intern in your organization, give them opportunities to interact socially and also to work on projects together if possible. Here are a few examples of ways you can foster intern collaboration. If your organization has several interns, try to group them into teams or pairs for a project. So for an example, have interns select a business problem within your organization to research or business opportunity, create a solution for that, and virtually present it to leaders at the end of their internship. And I mentioned, this certainly is, these are scalable solutions, whether you have 1 intern or 100 interns, you can create these types of opportunities for them. So if your organization has only 1 intern, identify a partner firm or a client who also has an intern and coordinate an inter-organization team project that could help bolster your client relationship. So for example, a broker could benefit from their intern partnering on a project with the intern of one of their underwriters. Also consider incorporating weekly intern challenges and games with prizes to make the internship experience fun and interactive. Just a couple of ideas and examples you could include, knowledge quizzes or scavenger hunts where interns have to find information about the company and they're competing for prizes. And sometimes our interns, our students, rather, will take it upon themselves to reach out to fellow interns. They'll start email chains or group chats. So providing contact information if possible and introducing interns between departments can help facilitate that process. Our Gamma Iota Sigma students are really intentional about their careers in the insurance industry. They are actively pursuing careers in insurance, and they're charting a course for their career. So learning, networking opportunities afforded by organizations are key considerations for them in the recruiting process. If you have in-person internship programming already in place, many of those opportunities can be easily converted to a virtual format. And even if your firm does not have that programming in place already, we've provided some ideas that will work well to engage your interns in a virtual format. Weekly educational webinars. And most of the time, employees are willing and actually so excited to speak to the interns and share about their role and their function within the company. So you can invite individuals from a variety of functional areas within your company to share their expertise. Maybe schedule 1 employee or 1 team to present to all the interns virtually each week, and do provide with those speakers with some guidance. Some things they could cover include, information on their specialty or function, how it connects to other departments within the organization, and even how they got to that career path and that place within the company. Coffee and conversations with an executive. You could also host a live chat with a senior leader, ask them to share some career advice with interns, open the floor for Q&A at the end. Our students really value access to leadership. So I know that certainly executives are very busy, but if they can spare 30 minutes to speak with the interns, it really has a huge impact. You could also host an alumni panel virtually. Actually, one of our chapters did this last week, and we hear it was a great success. You can host a live video featuring employees who started within your company as interns, invite them to talk about lessons learned and their college to career transition, and then encourage your current interns to bring their questions so they can really get the most out of that conversation. A virtual book club is another idea. You can invite an employee or a leader in your organization to select a book on leadership, business, or another topic that's relevant to the internship experience. And then you provide interns with a copy of the book and schedule a virtual meeting for the book club host to facilitate a discussion and talk about the book. And finally, online learning. Many organizations provide their employees access to insurance education providers or other services to build their business skill sets and acumen. So take some time, consider which of those opportunities would be the most beneficial to interns and make those opportunities available to them. We have incorporated some of these programming ideas into the internship syllabus that I mentioned and that I showed you earlier to better show you how that programming plays into the entire internship experience. So be sure to check that out if you are interested in seeing how that really fits into the entire internship program. And then finally, finish strong. Communication and engagement after the internship are important. And so we recommend scheduling a video call with the intern toward the end of their internship to share feedback on performance, discuss next steps. In our annual recruiting survey results, 72% of respondents said opportunities for employment after the internship was a key influencer in their employment decision. So if your organization plans to hire full-time graduates, share that process with them, let the intern know how they can be considered, and do make plans to communicate with them regularly after the internship has concluded. Our students are fortunate, they have a lot of opportunity. We have many of our chapters have a very, very high job placement rate, and we're seeing firms move very quickly and make offers earlier and earlier in the school year. So if you don't communicate with your intern, your intentions for potentially considering them for full-time employment, it certainly could be a missed opportunity. And with that, I will pass it back over to Noelle Kadisbadi for some parting thoughts.
Thank you, Alyssa. That was absolutely wonderful. And we appreciate you sharing your expertise in this area and spending so much time getting this resource ready for our partners and companies throughout the industry. I will say that if you haven't already, if you have a question, please feel free to drop it in the question section and we'll take some time to answer those. Alyssa had mentioned earlier too that we are working on a guide for our students so that they are well prepared to participate on the student side of these virtual internships, and certainly using the resources we have from students and companies who have already gone through these programs in years past to ensure that everybody is well prepared. Throughout the years, we have, that I've been here with Gamma, which is about 9 years now, and nearly 20 years in my tenure, as a student and working in the industry, it's always been interesting to me every time we get questions related to millennials and how they work, and the next generations coming in, and the generalized stereotypes about being virtual and relying on technology. And it has occurred, I think, to all of us in the course of the past couple of weeks, at how now, whether those were stereotypes or not, the knowledge that these younger generations have on operating in this new world has never been more needed or more appropriate. And so as you're working through not only the challenges related to virtual internships or working remotely for the regular course of business, I would suggest to everyone too that now's the time to reach out and form those multi-generational committees and task forces to ensure that we're getting the opinions and input across the board on how we continue to do this so well as an industry. Our students, our Alpha Iota chapter at St. John's University, in just about 20 minutes, will be kicking off a virtual community service project. And they have been operating their chapters in the past couple of weeks in the way many of us have been running our businesses for the past couple of weeks too. So it's not just about carrying business forward, but carrying the social interaction forward, carrying the community aspect of it forward. And those companies that are able to use, students, young alumni, and their entire employee base to continue to remain resilient and relevant during this time will certainly be those companies that withstand the course of public image and our industry as a whole. So there is one question here that, Alyssa, if you don't mind, I will answer right now. And it comes from one of our sustaining partners, and it is the idea on thoughts and recommendations on remote volunteer opportunities that could be done over the summer. I am no expert on virtual community service projects, but I can tell you about the two that have occurred over the past couple of weeks. The one is the one I mentioned that St. John's at Alpha Iota is hosting this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and we invite anybody who would like to join to check out the links in our newsletter to participate. But essentially, they are doing a virtual letter writing campaign to our healthcare workers. And certainly, we've seen that over the years at our annual conferences, writing letters for veterans and those in the military. We've also seen chapters out of Ohio do a risky 5K run. So it's a virtual run, a virtual 5K to raise money for their chapters, which was planned prior to this situation that we're in right now. So it allows people to run at their own pace and log in and still donate. And those are different things that can take place and also be creatively changed to fit other situations. Alyssa, if you could go to the next slide, I do want to just promote a couple things that we're also doing virtually and other resources that the folks can take advantage of that are on the phone or share with your teams. Next week, our Alpha chapter at Olivet College will be hosting the Michigan Virtual Career Fair. And while some companies have already finished their recruiting, both for internships and full-time positions, and certainly some are in limbo, many employers are using this as an opportunity to continue to engage with students through conversation. So if you have an opportunity or have some time on April 15th, we invite you to register for a booth and maintain conversations with our students. They certainly want to hear what's going on at your companies and what your organizations are doing right now to address the pandemic. Our Career Center remains open. We have also provided a code for postings. Our internship postings are always free, but we do charge for entry-level postings for our non-sustaining partners normally, but we have provided a code for free postings for anyone that continues to need entry-level or internship hires throughout the next couple of months. If you have problems accessing that, certainly please feel free to reach out. We will include that code in the email that goes out following this this webinar. And if you aren't currently receiving our newsletters, please let us know, and we'll be sure to get you the most recent one and sign you up for future newsletters. Our friends at the Jacobson Group, along with Aon, are conducting their labor study for the 2020 first quarter. Usually this is something that they do later in the summer, but given our current climate, we are happy that they have chosen to release it early. We invite those on the call to please take some time to check out the link and fill out the survey, as this type of information not only helps shape the resources and opportunities that we can provide to students, but to see what is happening in the industry at large, and certainly shape other aspects of not only entry level but experienced hiring. You may have also seen in our newsletter this week, or last week I should say, that this week we are hosting a series of recruiter roundtable conference calls. The idea is for these calls to be limited to just a handful of individuals at a time. We will try to answer any questions that you have, but we really want to hear from you and understand what it is that you're hearing at your company, what your thoughts are for this summer and for the future of hiring, as it will shape not only the conversation we're having with our students, but fall programming as well. We have a handful of slots still available in each of these sessions. So there'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week, each at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern. And if you head over to any one of our social media outlets, you'll find the link to be able to register. You'll then get a calendar invite from me with the times, but please give me a couple minutes to check the survey once you've submitted, and we'll be sure to get that information out to everybody. I have not seen any additional questions come through. Charlotte, I just want to make sure that I'm looking at that right.
You are.
Well, as always, we are here to answer any questions that you have. Share your thoughts on what you're doing, on what you need from us, ways to engage with our students, and just generally keep the conversation going. We wish nothing but the safest and healthiest of days and weeks ahead for each of you, and we look forward to continuing this conversation in the coming weeks and months.